Today they had me talk about remote sensing in soybeans. So appreciate Illinois Soybean Association for having me talk today. I enjoy putting this presentation together to be able to hopefully shed some light on some of the things that technology, drones, satellites, planes, what we can all utilize to be able to have a better plan moving forward whenever we are trying to scout our soybeans. So just a little overview here, just talk about some of the technological advancements, and they keep improving at a very rapid pace to be able to improve the efficacy and accuracy of determining, is it a nutritional product that we may need to apply? Is it a pest of some sort? Is it a fungus or a insect? The technology and the incorporation of AI is going to be something that will allow us to have a much better idea going out and physically scouting before we ever get to where the problem lays. Different ways to acquire the field view imagery. So when we first started out, it was a lot of satellite imagery. Started getting into the planes and drones just took off, no pun intended. Satellite imagery, some of the planes, drones, how are we going to be able to utilize it? How are we going to be able to get our hands on it? What are some of the programs that allows us to be able to, again, I always talk about planning. If you don't have a good plan and complete all the steps on that plan, some of these programs are going to be kind of a waste of time. It'll be able to show some pretty pictures, but I think by now, knowing the data that we can use and analyze is going to be able to help us, no matter whether that's a crop consulting or if you're a farmer wanting some of these imagery platforms to be able to help you out in the field. So that's kind of at the very end of it. How is this going to help us make our decisions, and what's some of the things that are moving forward with technology that's going to be able to help us? So the original remote sensing, using our eyes, I think we still do that at about 40 miles an hour driving past our fields, a lot of us. But using our eyes, obviously, sometimes they can deceive you. Sometimes you think that the fields are cleaner than what they may be. Obviously, if there's something underneath the canopy, if there's a fungal infection that's starting at the lower part of the canopy and working its way up, it's very hard to be able to diagnose that just by viewing it from a windshield. So some of the remote sensing services, some of the equipment that we can use that can be utilized for remote scouting. So we're getting to have to the point where it's layers and layers and layers and layers of data, and that's where we have to be knowledgeable on knowing what layers are we going to pick and choose from at what point in time in the crop's vegetative or reproductive stage. Some of the satellite imagery, we've got a lot of free software companies out there. Sometimes we have some companies that will charge a little bit more, and we'll get into that and why. Aerial imagery, so we're starting to get to the point too where airplanes are able to equip with some magnificent camera quality that allows you to have to pay just a little bit more for the service, but you are getting something that's going to be done for you fairly frequently with some great quality, and then of course drone imagery. And we'll get into some of the things that you'll need to think about prior to purchasing a drone, prior to purchasing your camera, and so on. These are just a few of the, I think, well-known companies out there that provides us some of the aerial imagery using satellites. We are getting to the point where there are so many that it may even cause a little bit of frustration or anxiety trying to think of, all right, which one is best? Which one is going to do the job that I need it to do? And that's where you experience. Talking to other fellow farmers or consultants, also see what they didn't like about it, and really kind of get around your operation and what you're needing. A little bit about the satellite imagery. There's a couple different image qualities. So Sentinel, I think there's a Sentinel 2 now that's a little bit more accurate than the 10 to 30 meter accuracy. plant it. That's most of the time you're going to have to pay a fee, a per acre fee charge, just because it is that below 3 meter accuracy. And whenever you start to analyze some of the images from these fields, you might benefit from having to pay for some of this, being able to narrow it down and maybe even detect it just a little bit sooner, because the raster and being able to not get blotchy pictures may provide you a little bit more time than what it would be with a 10 to 30 meter accuracy. So when I say that software within the agriculture realm is vast, it doesn't take long to get a Google page filled up with all sorts of different software programs of all kinds. So do your research, really dig in. You may even have to try 1 year with one or maybe two different companies at the same time. It's going to take a little bit more time on your part, but I do believe that if you're able to compare and contrast a couple, you'll be able to really understand what you can and can't do with any particular program. Field view, climate's been around for a good long time now. I've always liked the platform. Is always very easy to use, and works well with John Deere and precision planting as well as others. You can see here that so both of these are using the Sentinel satellites. I mentioned before, it's showing between 10 and 30 meters, and you can tell that they will both show a pretty good picture as far as some of the stress that we may be seeing out there. And this is actually the cover crop trial that Mr. John Pike back there in the Illinois Soybean Association is helping out with. And this is, and I'll show you a few other pictures later on with this particular field, but you can definitely tell where there are areas of high vegetation versus low vegetation, and I'll go through what this actually is showing. It does tell a pretty good story. We talked about soybean fungicide with this last presentation here, and showing some of the greening effects that it may have on some of the soybeans. And I believe in this area in particular, being able to be dried out, and of course always 2 weeks from a drought, some of that greening effect may have a little bit, maybe more of an advantage of a fungicide, just due to the longevity of being able to catch a few more of those late August rains and be able to put a few more pods on there late. And it's actually showing the red and yellow there at the bottom is the area on that particular plot that did not get any fungicide. That's where I turned the sprayer off and skipped that pass. And you can see that, and I brought my students out there last fall with the ag technology class, and asked them, I was like, what happened here? And then they all looked at it and they're like, well, it's dying. And I was like, well, it's senescing, just senescing a little bit earlier than what the other soybeans are, just because of the strobilurin effect, or the SDHIs, that's going to allow it to last just a little bit longer out there. And you can see there on the right, I've got the John Deere Operations Center that does actually help with the truth test. You can see that kind of red line with some more of the yellow and orange showing a decrease in yield. And I think the decrease was about 4 to maybe 5 bushels, but definitely was a big help. You're able to be able to take some of these pictures and some of the aerial imagery or satellite imagery to maybe even help with yield predictions, knowing that I either have a large variation or a low variation of the NDVI percentages and the overall greenness levels within my crop. So might be able to have a little bit of insight there if we pay close attention to it. So crop-wise, so I guess I should kind of also mention that Syngenta's been a big impact here at Rend Lake College. They've been here for a little over 20 years now, working in some of the research plots there on the east side of campus. They now occupy about 80 acres of the research plots out there, and they've been wonderful to work with. It also gives us the ability to have some of our That's magnetic. Also have some of our students be able to apply for internships with them. CropWise with Syngenta Digital is down in Murray, Kentucky. So we've been able to have a couple of our students over the past couple of years be able to help with the digital side of Syngenta, as well as a couple interns helping with the research and development happening here right at Rend Lake College. So I appreciate Syngenta's presence here and always willing to help us. Even gave us or donated us a couple of drones that we'll be utilizing quite a bit in our crop scouting class. So the CropWise platform overall, CropWise imagery, that's going to be mostly what we'll be talking about today, or just a little bit here moving forward. Great service. You obviously could see some of the higher quality resolution within that 3 to 10 meter range. It also gives you the ability to have the Protector app, which be able to go out there and utilize as a crop scouting tool, and then a few other different ways to be able to view and analyze your fields over time. So this is just an access of trends over time, seeing what your variation in your NDVI levels and percentages are based off of the stress of the environmental impact, whether that's too much heat, too much rain, not enough rain. You have it. You should be able to track it just a little bit easier than what you would with other programs. It's able to even show you, ordered by the highest NDVI, meaning the left one is going to be more important to scout first, just because the NDVI percentages within the greenness levels, you're going to have more of the area, green versus red or yellow, just notifying you that we may have some areas that need attention, whether that's a fungicide or a foliar or even an insecticide. So some of the pros for satellite imageries, the frequent updates, which is nice. Unfortunately, it doesn't know when it's cloudy. It doesn't know when it's storming. It doesn't know what's going on in your area. You may have more in the cloudy or not good quality of pictures during those times. Programming, like I said just before, it recommends places to look first. So it's kind of giving you an avenue of where to check off the list on where you need to go and when. And again, some of the cons, you may have to have a yearly fee that may just not be cost effective for your operation. So overall though, it's a great program, and there are a lot of great programs out there that will do something similar, but CropWise has definitely intrigued me in being able to use it moving forward. So moving to airplanes, so getting a little bit closer to the ground. It's pretty amazing the camera quality that they have. Usually it's kind of on a weekly basis where they're going to be flying. This is mostly going to be through a crop consultant or a retail or a co-op due to a little higher cost associated to it. So I've heard of $10 an acre, and then you'll get up to 6 passes. With the first pass being after your planting date. So the first one would possibly be a plant stand count, being able to allow you to understand what percentage of population is still out there, depending on what type of environment that you planted into. So Ag, MRI, and Tyrannus, I think, are two of the most common in this area. A couple retailers have been talking to me about these types of programs, and from what it sounds like, it's been a pretty good experience for the farmer, especially if they don't have the capability or time to be able to have a drone themselves and be able to actively go out there and take some of these images. So Tyrannus, high resolution imagery, that's what tells a story. You can basically zoom all the way down into that leaf and see some of that insect feeding. So I would say that that's definitely good quality. It even has up on the top right, it also has kind of that meter saying that, you know, these fields need to be looked at first, just because of the variation that they have. So Ag MRI, kind of the same platform. They've got a nice phone app that you can keep track of things as the year goes on. You know, that's going to have it at the planting, early season, trying to figure out what stands there are, maybe some nutrient deficiencies as alerts going forward, talking about disease coming in. And, you know, if you've got the same quality as the Tyrannus, you might even be able to zoom down far enough to be able to kind of see what that disease might be, or at least gives you a really good idea of where I need to go and physically scout. So the airplanes in general, those two programs that you can get involved with, you know, the pros are going to be the increased quality of resolution. It's going to be no time for you that's going to be involved. That's another plus, obviously. And the updates that you get are all pros. The only concern would be just, you know, is that $10 fee going to be something that you're comfortable spending? And I would definitely recommend something along those lines if you don't want to go the drone route and spend that time out there yourselves. So a little bit about drones. Some people are like, well, there's so many drones out there now. And yes, there absolutely is. They're getting to be plentiful. It's all going to depend on what type of operation that you're going to be running. Is this going to be a crop consulting? Are you going to be doing, you know, field after field? Is it going to be large fields, small fields, you name it? So we're going to go through, these are the two types of drones that we have at the college that we'll be utilizing for our ag technology class and automation to be able to help the students get into that crop consultant mindset prior to leaving here. The DJI, this is a Matrice 200. This is one that it's a multi-rotor. This is one that Syngenta was graciously enough to donate to us to help our program start and get up off our feet. And then the fixed wing here is a Firefly 6 Pro. It is a fixed wing, but it's kind of a hybrid. So I'll kind of go over here and show you here. So it does have the fixed wing, which allows it to fly at a pretty good rate. It'll do, I think, about 100 acres in about an hour if you let it. Some of the concerns about having a fixed wing is usually throwing it and not knowing if it will continue to fly or not. So that's one of the things that people kind of shy away from that type of drone. But this one, as you can see, also has rotors that's going to be able to allow it to take off this way, and then there's a button that you can push and it will actually turn those rotors forward, and then it will take off like a plane. Unfortunately, I don't think this one is available anymore, but I believe there are others out there like it. So which is best for your operation? So like I said, the fixed wing, it's going to give you a lot of acres in a shorter amount of time. Usually, if the faster you go, the less quality of picture it's going to be. Obviously, if you're going to be moving at a 30-mile-an-hour rate, the quality may be just slightly less. But you can still see here centimeter to inch per pixel. So that's still pretty darn good. Millimeter per pixel for the drones. It's to the point where the AI and some of the software programs will even pick up what type of weed it is just coming out of that ground. So some of the artificial intelligence and the learning that is going in on some of these programs is going to be something that's also going to continue to aid us as a crop consultant or as a farmer. The other thing you'd have to look at would be the camera quality. So are you just going to use the camera that's on the front of it, or are you going to be able to mount a camera below it? What type of camera is needed for being able to show you these differences in vegetative index out there? So NDVI, so the normalized difference vegetation index, and then you also have the enhanced normalized differential difference in vegetative index. That's going to allow you to really be able to see those greens, red, green, brown, be able to see the corn, soybeans within the rows. Multispectral will add to that. It's obviously going to be a little bit more expensive, but you can really sort through the different layers of data and be able to fine tune what's actually out there in that field. Is it a weed or is it a crop? Is it going to be the levels of greenness? You can really thumb through and get some good pictures of what's going out there. Thermal detects variation of heats throughout the crop canopy, so we'll be able to see some water stress mitigation out there, be able to see how your crop is doing in certain areas of the field that may be more droughty or some that may have better water holding capacity. LiDAR is great for analyzing topography. So around here we've got some flat areas, but we also have some rolling ground not too far south from us, so we should be able to use that LiDAR to be able to see where is the best route for our ditches. Is this a good spot for some tile drainage? That type of information is tremendous using a LiDAR camera. Zoom capability, so if you're not going to have if you're going to be up higher in the air, instead of going down closer to the crop canopy, if you can just zoom in, you're going to save a whole lot of battery life. So that's one other thing to be looking at. So if you haven't ever seen an NDVI picture before, it's pretty gnarly. So obviously that's what we see through our eyes, and then using the light spectrums and being able to identify the green in the chlorophyll in the leaf tissue. That's going to allow us to be able to understand population. It's going to help us with chlorophyll production, maybe some nitrogen deficiencies out in the field, especially with wheat and corn. The thermal camera sensor, like I said, that's going to detect some water stress. So in my mind, if I've got a thermal camera and I'm able to see where those water stress plants are, I might be able to think to myself, how can I use this? So if I know that I've got areas that are prone to drought, areas that I know are going to be stressed in areas, I might be able to overlay that and be able to create a variable rate recommendation moving forward. So I've heard a lot of times where like, okay, well, all these maps, it just says what it is now, right? It's, what am I gaining in the future? And the future is knowing what I can do with these types of cameras and imagery for the next season. We're always planning. We're always planning for that next year. We've already planted. We haven't even combined this year, and we're probably already starting to prepare for next year. And that's what these types of images are going to allow us to see. Are there areas out in the field where I can increase my population because I know it's not stressing out because of water deficiency in these areas? I might be able to increase my population, especially if it's corn. I might be able to put a different variety out there. If you have a side-by-side of variety and you know that one variety is stressing more than another, I know that, hey, next year I can maybe, instead of splitting the field, I'm just going to go to this one variety because I know using my thermal camera, the stress is not there in that particular variety. And then obviously you're going to have to truth test that with some more data with your yield coming from your combine. So again, this is your LiDAR that you can access, and I think there are programs out there now where there's a LiDAR database. So like with SMS Advanced, I know you can download LiDAR information now, which is going to be able to help with some of the tile drainage and other types of ditch work or whatever you might have with problems in low-lying areas and waterlogged areas moving forward. So that'd be another one. So we have all these pictures. what are we going to be able to do with them? I said, we can get a plant population variable rate recommendation. There's so many more things that we can do with programs like Pix4D, like Drone Deploy. Those are probably two of the larger programs out there now, where we can even go out, take the pictures, and if we see that within our soybeans, if there are just a few weeds, far and few between, we may not want to go out and spray every single acre. So this is actually a program where we can identify the weeds out there using the imagery and being able to select them, and using the AI, it will automatically identify the rest of the weeds that are out there. So there are sprayers out there that can use a see and spray technology that can notice a weed within a field and be able to only spray that weed using the pulse width modulations within the sprayer. But if we don't have that see and spray technology, we might even be able to use our drones to be able to fly the field, stitch it up real quick. It takes maybe a half hour of time, and then create a VRT rec, which is basically just an on and off at that point, right? So it's going to turn on just in the areas of the boom, so it's not going to turn the whole boom on. It's only going to put the booms on or the nozzles where it says that the weeds are at. So pretty neat. So you can do that with a drone. You can do that with a John Deere technology. Most sprayers with that PWM system. Some of the other uses for programs like Pix4D and Drone Deploy, we can also use it for research plots. So we can use it to see what is our weed or pest infestation or density. What are some of the treatment efficacies? We'll be able to see that and know that we've got those greenness levels increased in those areas due to some of the treatments that we applied. Variable rate recommendations, I said something about seeding up at the top right. That is a wheat field. That's going to show the areas that are low in nitrogen. So we are able to increase and decrease the nitrogen based off of the AI program that Pix4D has. It's able to show the sprayer where it needs to increase the nitrogen, where it needs to decrease the nitrogen, to make sure that the whole field is nice and level within their growing. Said earlier that I'll go over a little bit about the triangle, which is just on the north side of campus. As you're heading north towards the, heading towards the interstate, you'll notice on the right-hand side there is a cover crop trial. We were able to have an early termination May 30th, and that's early compared to what we could have had. Around here. So we, just to the north of where that kind of block is, we left the south side continue growing, and the north part we killed off with a Roundup 2,4-D application. And what we're seeing there in the middle, so on the left-hand side, we can see that we had a cover crop strip there, and then we had just bare ground in the middle strip. And then on the right of that, we had another cover crop. So this image was actually just taken on Tuesday, I believe, Tuesday afternoon. And we're able to see there is a much more dense weed population in the area where that cover crop was not at. So you're going to be able to save another application, especially if it prolongs into the season, not being able to put that residual down. But I thought that painted a pretty good picture. I terminated the bottom part just a little while ago with, we sprayed Tendova for soybeans, and I added in glyphosate and 2,4-D to be able to terminate the rest of the cover crop there. That just had a little bit of green left in it there, so you're able to see that within the picture. So thought that was pretty good. So with drones, you don't just have to have the pattern. You don't just have to have it take the pictures all there for you. You can do it, the old-fashioned way and just go up a few hundred feet and be able to take a nice panoramic view around the field, and then kind of go down and take a look at what some of these areas of infestations that might be occurring. Is it weeds? Is it SDS? Is it SCN? Is it frog eye leaf spot? We can go down and at least take a closer look by either zooming in with a good camera zoom or actually flying down closer to the canopy. This one here is showing some areas that discoloration, some blotchiness that we might be thinking is SDS just within the soybeans. So this manual drone operation, just normal visualization. We didn't need an NDVI to be able to see that discoloration. So took a closer look, was able to kind of see some more blotchiness within the soybeans. This is actually Purdue had this and showed that going out there, yes, you need to have an idea of where to go to, but then you need to put your boots on the ground and get a little dirty to really see what is actually happening out there. So yes, there was some sudden death syndrome out there, but then digging it up, there was also some soybean cyst nematodes. So again, the drone is just the first part of the scouting. We're really going to need to go out there, diagnose and dissect what's actually happening. So what else could technology and remote sensing detect in soybeans? So Stephanie, what do you think? What else can we detect with imagery?
So we did, I wasn't directly involved, but we did do some work on, using UAVs to detect SDS and SCN. And so far the technology has some limitations because we're detecting overall plant health, and, using the bands that are available. But, by playing, because we're talking about 700 to 800 right on these ranges. But I think if you nail down to specific bands and, figure out the right time, you may be able to differentiate SDS from SCN. And they're doing that work still, but there's some potential there to not only figure out if the plant is healthy or not, but what is causing that disease or that stress in general.
Perfect. Yeah. So SCN. So SCN obviously is going to be able to give that plant color. It might have some differences within those wavelengths. So I really wanted to touch on this because I thought it was really interesting. Illinois Soybean Association, along with SIU Carbondale, is putting on these field trials. And this is where I think farmers really need to be happy about where we can get involved in having these larger areas being covered with some of these trials. So having that 10 to 70 acre field, I don't think we can complain anymore saying, oh, that's just small plot research. This is real life. This is out in the field. This is out in your fields. This is in every field. I think that has been sampled. We're able to find these SCN eggs and on the roots and everything along those lines. So having the ability to detect the SCN out in the fields with any type of AI and imagery, the more photos you have, the more times you can train that camera or that frequency, the more possibility or better the possibility there is to be able to narrow it down. So this is where I think Illinois farmers and surrounding states really need to get involved with this type of research, so that way we're able to train this AI quicker than what we would if there's just a small portion of us putting our fields in there into the system and being able to train it. So I think the more the more images, the more instances that we have, the better we should be able to train our technology and software to be able to more effectively find our SCN. So if we're able to find our SCN, we're able to detect more soybean crops that may be less resistant or more resistant as well. So I think that's definitely a great program that Illinois Soybean Association had this last year. Hope it continues. I hope SIU continues as well. I think it's something good, and that's just a QR code that you can click here to be able to view and be able to maybe get on the website and be able to get enrolled in something along those lines. So Syngenta Digital also has something similar. We're going to, and that's something that our Rend Lake College intern is going to be able to help with, going to be able to view the different satellite imageries and be able to go into the areas where they think that there could be a possible SCN population. So Bo is the intern that's for Syngenta that's out of Rend Lake College, and he's going to be able to go to the field that they're showing, be able to go and document what's actually being out there in the field, and be able to truth test it and be able to identify it and make sure that what we're sensing up in as a satellite or drone is what we're actually seeing on the ground. So just a few other pictures, so Syngenta Digital with CropWise. These are some of the images that we're seeing, and hopefully be able to diagnose some of the blotchiness and some of the areas that might resemble SCN. And this is just kind of how the field has progressed throughout the year. These are just more of the NDVI. These are vary as well as just orthomosaic stitched. So as we go through it, we might be able to see some of the areas that we need to go look at. So some of the yellow and discolored areas, we can see that we're able to detect and then actually go out and do that soil samplings. So soil sample for the SCN, be able to identify those areas, and then hopefully be able to train the software to be able to identify it even further and more readily available moving forward. So that's all I have. I appreciate everybody's attention, and I appreciate Illinois Soybean Association for being here. We love having you all here. So hopefully you'll be back sometime in the future. So thank you, everybody.